Two French guys, lots of cheese, lots of wine. I mean, what can go wrong? And apparently everything. So, it was August the 3rd, and it was a warm, sunny evening in a small French village called... Now, I'm gonna speak some French, so please be considerate, and I'm gonna try to pronounce this as close as possible. So, the name of the village is Iton du Perche. That's actually not bad. And the village is approximately 100 miles southwest from Paris. Now, two friends sat outside in a garden to have a nice meal. 69-year-old Lucien Perrault and 13-year-old Olivier Boudon. Wow, I actually think I nailed this one. Basically, their dinner was gala event. You know, homemade but still very, very elegant. So they had steaks, they had beans, they had lots of cheese, all like sorts of cheese. They had baguette bread, they had even music, and of course lots of red wine. So it's kind of a typical French stereotype there, so lots of cheese and lots of red wine. What you gonna do, man? So according to the neighbor who lived next door, their bond was like really strong. They had connection like father and son basically. And of course one was retired and the other one was at a time jobless. So I suppose they had like a lot of time to hang out together and establish a really close relationship. So yeah. Now everything was going well. The night was still young, as they say. They had dinner, they had music, they had drinks. Basically nothing indicated that something will happen. So, and unfortunately, yeah, it will happen. Now, fast forward through the night, it is morning, it is 6 a.m. and that exact neighbor woke up and I suppose he got up in his garden to maybe water his plants or something, I don't know. But basically, what he said was this. So he looked across the yard, yeah, and saw two of them still sitting together at the table. So I think Lucien was like this with his head down and Olivier was slightly bent backwards, so something like this. And he just presumed that they were sleeping, so because they naturally had like a lot of alcohol last night, and he just assumed they were totally drunk, they were blacked out, and they're just sleeping there. He didn't take it seriously and he got back into the house. Now, a couple of hours later, it was already like midday. It was 11, 12 o'clock, something like that. And since it was August the 4th, it was really hot. So he goes outside and sees them again in the exact same position. Now he started wondering, is it possible that they like had so much drink last night that they're still passed out, still unconscious basically. Now he starts worrying because the sun was like too strong that day. And basically he heads across the yard, you know, to try to wake them up so they like wouldn't suffer the sunstroke or something. And when he got there, it was kinda not what he expected. So he tried to wake them up, he was like shaking them and all kinds of things, but nothing happened naturally. So he phones his neighbor, other neighbor comes and takes like a bucket of ice cold water and just casually pours over the guy, over the Olivier, I think, and no reaction. So I don't care how drunk you are, how passed out you are or something. If somebody pours like the ice cold water on you, you will get up, man. You will get up from the dead. And nothing happened. So they just look at each other and said basically, this is not good, man. This is not good. Now, the next step logically for them was to try to feel their pulse, right? And after there were no signs of any pulse whatsoever, now they established that those guys were, well, dead. On one side you have like a rich dinner with steaks and everything, and on the other side in the morning you're no longer with us. So what the hell happened? Now, since this village was small, obviously, the news of this tragic event quickly spread, and everybody was like panicking and wondering if their village is like in the heart of some super sinister crime scene. And you know, when you watch true crime documentaries and they always say like, it's a small place, it's a quiet place, nothing ever happens here
until it happens.
So the people were like fearing that this is like a start of some, I don't know what. Now detectives and whole bunch of other guys come to the crime scene and start their routine examination of the crime scene. Now a bunch of investigators and detectives come to the crime scene and basically they start their routine investigation of and collecting evidence of the crime scene itself. The twisted thing is that the crime scene looked like time has stopped. Like they had dinner, they had having a good time and all other stuff, and all of a sudden they just froze and dropped dead on the spot. So logically, you know, villagers at a time were starting to gather and wondering what the hell happened, along with the investigators, and logically a bunch of theories started to develop. So somebody initially pointed that this could be some kind of, I don't know, like joint poisoning. They were like in some kind of cult and they decided they're gonna commit you know what. And you know, it's not so hard to conclude that they could like sip a little bit of poison in their wine, in their drinks, and just sip it, and you know, off to the trip to Belize they go. When we take into the consideration this theory in particular, you know, that there's like a pattern when it comes to the cults and committing mass departures on to Belize. And yeah, it's always the same method. They are together, they sometimes hold hands, and sometimes they pray to their maybe imaginary god or something, with a clear goal in their mind. We're traveling to a better place, and so on and so on. Basically something similar like Heaven's Gate and Marshall. Crazy eyes, Applewhite guy. So poisoning, that was the first option. The second one was alcohol. So we maybe should consider poisoning by alcohol as well. Like copious amounts of wine, and basically straightforward, very very simple. They just overdrank and poisoned themselves with alcohol to death, and that was it. Plain and simple. The third one is a little bit different and maybe more sci-fi. So it includes like connection with mafia. So, you know, when the things like that happen, especially in a small place, and especially in a quiet place like this French village, and with the people like this, I mean, it was a unemployed guy, and he was a guy in retirement, so very old guy, and the people started wondering, what the hell, man? Did they maybe, you know, like lived an underground life, an undercover life, double life? Were they like some kind of spies or something? I know it's like a cliche or something, but it will always be an option when it comes to cases like this. So it was kind of mysterious and intriguing both in the same time. So were they our neighbors, ordinary neighbors, which we, you know, had coffee every day, had lunch, breakfast, dinner, and so on? Or were they like completely different people? So we should like start wondering there. And those theories were in question at that particular time. Now, I'm going to ask you, what do you think, which theory has like the most potential, the most probability in this case? Let's go to the part number 3. So let's just pick up where we stopped in the second part, alright? So we have 3 theories here in total. Let's try to exclude the first one, so joint called poisoning, right? Now, when you think about it, it's pretty obvious and pretty simple what the process of excluding is. They send the bodies to the morgue, they do all the necessary tests, all the necessary analysis, collecting evidence from the crime scene, examining those evidence in the lab, gathering all the, I don't know what's the word, what's the word? You know, when they do like with the cotton swabs, and I can't remember right now, but I'm sure that you guys know. You know, that's why I'm amateur detective. I'm not professional, because I cannot remember the basic words. So they run the test, and with 100% certainty, they know that this was not poisoning of any kind, right? So that leaves us with the second one, which is alcohol. And the process is, you know, like pretty much the same. And on top of that, they found them with unfinished food and unfinished drinks, right? So they went to the basement and, you know, checked all the wine bottles. So they just had to make sure that they didn't drink like 30 bottles of wine or something, because obviously you can't poison yourself over drink with one glass. And as it turns out, they like opened only one bottle and they drank like half of it. So alcohol was excluded as well. So that leaves us with the third one, mafia involvement. What's happening here now? So the main thing is that crime scene wasn't disturbed whatsoever. So there were no signs of struggle. There were no signs of fighting. Like I said before, it looked like they just had a dinner, had a good time, and they just dropped dead on the spot. So no injuries, no bullet holes, nothing. I mean, in the house, in the bodies, nothing. No strangulation marks. Pretty much like, I don't know, some kind of ghost scared them to death. So are you ready to hear what the actual cause of this tragic event was? Prepare yourselves. Now, Lucien was eating a very, very large chunk of steak. And since he was like 69, so he was very old, he had several teeth missing. And naturally, he had big problems when it came to meat and actually chewing it. So at one point, he started, you know, to suffocate on this huge chunk of meat. And while that was happening, Olivier, the younger guy, was witnessing that his friend is, you know, suffocating. And as it happens, Olivier had like a heart condition. Now, condition was called, I think it was a cardiomegaly or something. So basically it's a condition when your heart is like abnormally large. And since he was witnessing that his friend is basically about to die, his heart like bloated, even made itself even bigger, and he suffered a heart attack. And believe it or not, that happened in the same time as Lucien was chucking to death. So they both died in the same time. Lucien from suffocating to death, and Olivier from a heart attack, witnessing that his friend is gonna die. And that's it. So the normal reaction to this end would probably be something like, huh? That's it? You know, like some kind of TV show or movie that has like a plot and a huge build up. So first season, second season, third, fourth, fifth, and all of a sudden everybody expect something big, and all of a sudden they just cut it, and that's it. So that reminds me a little bit of that with this case. So everybody were presuming some sci-fi scenarios, like, I don't know what, paranormal stuff, mafia involvement, poisoning cults, and whatnot. And it turns out that only like a sequence of miserably impossible events occurred, which ultimately led to death of these two guys. And that's it. So I really don't know what to say. I think I should like just finish this video in the same manner as a low budget like endings, like just cut it and that's it. So I think I'm gonna do that. This was very, I don't know, unusual. I hope it was unusual for you as well. It was a tragic and sad story with just unlucky story, basically. And yeah, I mean, I would like to know what are the odds of that happening, really, man. I mean, the guy with no teeth chewing on and, you know, suffocating on meat, and the other guy just happens to have like heart condition and has a heart attack, looking at his friend, and they both die in the same time. You know, if somebody scripted this, if this was a movie, I would say it's like too unrealistic, and that's it. So I think I'm done for today. Second shift awaits. See you in the new one. Like always, thank you for watching, and Casual Detective Alex signing out.